Many high school seniors and their parents are coming to reality of how expensive a college education is. The price for 1 year of college is nearly half the income a family makes in a year. Therefore, college is nearly impossible for average families to afford comfortably. While many families push their children to reach for a higher degree, doing so is not always necessary and is sometimes a waste of money. But for others, getting a degree is necessary. Although college is expensive with most careers, the majority of those who find work in their intended work field will be able to pay off their student debt. Many believe one should not get a college degree if the further education is not going to benefit a person's chances of getting a job and being more successful in the future, while others feel a college education is important no matter what. Dr. Leah Hoover, the assistant professor of education at Kentucky Wesleyan College, is one who feels everyone needs to receive a higher education.
It's important. I think in today's society, it's going to take a college education to be able to have a good salary and to be able to move forward in many of the jobs that we've got out there now.
Dr. Hoover discusses the biggest challenges she finds within further education.
A lot of it's regulations, state, federal. For instance, like teacher education is under a brand new national accreditation, so that means we're held to higher standards on what we have to do, and I think keeping up with those type of things and having the funding and the money to be able to keep up with those kinds of things is it's a big challenge.
Yeah. Dr. Hoover agrees that college tuition prices are too high.
Yes, in some places I do. I think it's become a competition, almost like a monopoly. When one ups their tuition and the other ones follow right behind it and either do the smart thing and lower theirs, or they will up theirs a little bit more, and they'll do that. But I also know too, I've served in the role of associate dean here too, and I also know that it takes a lot of money to be able to run, a college. Yeah.
The price at big name schools is growing compared to the smaller schools where one can get just as good of an education.
I'll give you an example. I went to University of Alabama. Well, University of Alabama is almost as much as a private school now. And I think it's because they have so many more programs, plus they've grown so much, plus they're also a Division I school.
Yeah.
And so if you were looking at something like EKU, it's not near as big, but they still have, the state funds coming in, so they've got an earmark that they have to stay set at, but they can kind of play with it a little bit. Privates are always more expensive, though.
Dr. Hoover discusses whether she feels student loans are hurtful or helpful.
I think a lot of times 18-year-old students do not understand the long-term ramifications of a student loan. They have to understand that if you do not pay that student loan, that goes on your credit. And if you go into default, it not only affects your credit, but it affects the college from where you went to, because we have a thing called default rate. And it tracks, because anytime you have student loan money, it is a trajectory pattern, meaning it comes from not only the student who took that money out, but it also follows the school. So they're looking to see that the people we gave loans to, were they able to have a viable education, meaning graduating, and were they able to find a viable job, which means enough money to earn to pay back that student loan. What we find a lot of times is students are not prepared. They come in and they realize that they're on a private campus, but they don't realize the cost associated with it. They think because it's local, for a lot of them, that it's going to be like the cost of maybe like a community college, and it's not. So a lot of students that come here, the price tag sometimes is a little bit of a in your face, like wow. And so I think that causes a lot of issues, but we see it all the time. And I hate to see a student that really does not have the desire to be here taking out that kind of money. Because that's a car. It's a vacation. You know what I mean? I look at all the things I could buy with that, and I'm like, oh my gosh, it sends me over the edge. Because they just don't get it. So it's good and it's bad.
It's good. Scholarships and financial aid are increasing, which helps many families pay for the high cost. But there are still many scholarships out there students do not know about or do not take advantage of.
Given too much time and effort is put into national scholarship opportunities that are not going to add up but to what I call just small dollars. Chop change is what I call it. Because a $400 and $500 scholarship does not make a dent in a $40,000 education. I think more education needs to be done at the high schools in promoting big dollar scholarships that they offer.
Dr. Hoover feels very strong about the value of an education.
Yes, definitely. Because I mean, it's to the point, even, and it goes even further than just a college education. You got to have a high school education. You can't even these days be able to work in a daycare without a GED or a high school education. Period. You know, and it's becoming more and more that way. Even fast food is now requiring some kinds of some type of schooling. And so it's to the point that to be able to work in society and be able, when I say have a viable job, I mean being able to have a home, be able to pay your bills, that type of thing. It's not saying everybody's going to make a six-figure salary, but to be able to do that kind of thing, yes, I think the education part's extremely important.
The price for a further education may be growing, but a degree can take you very far.